You're listening to Whoa! Potluck.
And hey, welcome to Books and Boba, a book club and podcast featuring books by Asian and Asian American authors. My name is Marvin Yueh.
And I'm Rira Yu.
And we are here today with an author chat with Momo Yamaguchi to talk about her debut novel, Hello Limerence, a story about a overworked and undersexed young woman living in Tokyo, and just the crazy hijinks that she gets into as she deals with a obsessive crush. As always, Books and Boba is supported in part by our listeners. So if you've been enjoying our podcast and want to become a bigger part of our book club, head on over to patreon.com/booksandboba, where as an official Patreon supporter, you gain access to our members-only Discord server, where we chat with Rira, myself, and fellow book club members in real time about all sorts of topics, including our monthly book club picks. And if you join us at the Honey Boba level, you also gain access to our monthly bonus podcast, Boba Chats, as well as the opportunity to help us pick a quarterly Patron's Choice Book Club pick. And our next one coming up will be our October pick. So if you join out, it'll be just in time to get started in our selection process in the month of September.
Yeah, so we chatted with Momo about a variety of things. We talked about being millennials. We talked about, having cringe in your 20s and the mess of online dating, and also what happens to romantic relationships when a pandemic hits. So we went all over the place, but I had a lot of fun talking to Momo, and I hope you guys have fun listening to this episode. And we are here with Momo Yamaguchi, who was born in Tokyo and educated in the States and now lives and works in London. And we're here to talk about her first novel, Hello Limerence. Welcome to the show, Momo.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
Yeah, and thank you for calling in all the way from London. I think it's like 7 or 8 p.m. there, so we really appreciate you spending the time to talk with us.
Oh yeah, no worries. 9 p.m., but I made sure to eat dinner 3 hours ahead, so I wouldn't throw up or anything, because I'm pretty nervous right now. But
oh my god, don't be nervous.
That makes us feel bad, because we are not worth being nervous for, I promise you.
We're super casual. We are not like academics. Neither of us have doctorates. So we're gonna just ease in with the little icebreakers. So what is an obsession you've once had in your youth? It could be anything from childhood to your college years, just any obsession that you're willing to share with us.
I think I had a lot, but one of them was Naruto, which is I think a pretty famous, popular anime in the States as well. But yeah, I got into it as a middle schooler. Even though it's a boys comic, I started, there's a lot of volumes, but I read all of them. And I was into a lot of fan art as well. So I didn't draw it myself, but I would exchange cute fan art that I found with my friend who was also into Naruto, and embarrassingly fan fiction a little bit as well. But it's a gateway.
None of this is embarrassing, by the way. None of this is out there in terms of weirdness.
Of Naruto fan fiction is the question here, right?
Did you have a rare ship, or was it
Oh, I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, Gaara and Sakura were I was kind of into
You know
that.
what? I can see it. I Kishimoto, whatever he did with the ending, pairing Hinata with Naruto and Sasuke with Sakura. I'm I don't agree with this. There was not enough setup. As you can tell, as listeners can tell, I also was a big Naruto fan. I read the manga before it became an anime, and I had bought the first volume when it was in its first print in America. So I had a special cover. It was holographic and everything. And sadly, while I was in college, this is a very sad story. Sadly, while I was in college, my brother had a school project, and it was a collage of things that you like. And my brother and I share the same, passion for anime. And he and my mother went through my manga collection and decided to cut up some
Oh, no.
mangas and
Oh
put
my
it
God.
in a collage. So one of the things that
What?
got cut was my first edition Naruto manga. And I was like,
Ah!
I came back home and they're like, hey, look at this cool collage that we made. And I was like, oh no. Oh no, my first edition, like they don't even sell these in this
Wait,
cover
is that
anymore.
like really expensive right now? Is that like a
I don't
collector's
know
thing?
if it's expensive now, and it was the English version, so it was not the Japanese first edition, but it was like the first run when it came out in America in English. This was back when like no one knew what Naruto was here in the States, so that's my
pioneer.
little story. Yeah.
We were chatting about obsessions to prime up for this like icebreaker before the call, and I was like, I don't know if I had any obsessions, but I had like momentary, like I would fall into like black holes, right? And I do remember when I was in college, I did spend a day reading Naruto through like the fan scanlations. It was back when you had to like download one zip at a time, open it. So I would like read a chapter while the other chapter was downloading. And then so I had like a system going. But then like I kind of stopped because I caught up. So when I was in college, it was during the pain arc. So for those people who know.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like I read through that and then like I caught up. So like I stopped. And then I didn't pick it up again until maybe like a couple years later when like the run finished. So I think that's kind of the thing with like being current is you kind of have to like start waiting weekly, and I was in college, so I didn't have time for that. I did own, and I think it's still in my closet somewhere back at my parents' house, but all 42 volumes of the original run of Dragon Ball.
Whoa.
But translated to Chinese because I read it in Chinese. Yeah. Definitely.
Wow, we are all a bunch of weebs. Like, we are, all of our obsessions are the same: anime, manga.
Wait, like they recently released it on Netflix, I think, Naruto. So I've started
they
to
did.
watch.
They did.
I've actually never watched anime, so it's my first time watching it, and I never realized how much exposition they have. Like they're like explaining their like how their whole jutsu works and like their family history and their childhood trauma, like while in like battling each other. It's like.
Yeah.
So it's not great exposition wise, but you know it's so fun. It's like it's very nostalgic.
Yeah, I confession, I couldn't get into the anime because I had read the manga, which is a much like better paced like narrative. But I agree. Yeah, it's the same reason why like I bounced off of One Piece 10 years ago, and I just can't go back. There's too much.
One Piece is still going. Like I don't blame
It's a
you.
commitment.
No,
Yeah,
like
there was this
20
one
years ago,
girl
actually.
that there was this one girl that I saw on social media. It was through like an online dating show, and she was saying, "I'm not going to marry anyone who has not watched all of One Piece."
Whoa.
And like the guys on that show were just like, wait, that has like over 100 episodes. And she was like, marriage is a lifetime commitment, so you can start now. And I was like, dang, she is obsessed with One Piece. That is like dedication. Show me your love through watching every episode.
Isn't it like up to like thousands of like there's a like at
At
least
this
20 or
point-
30 years of show, right?
Hold on, I'm googling.
It has
how
to.
many-
It has to be, and like some of his stuff, it's like not canon either because like they had to wait like
Yeah.
while he was writing other stuff. I mean, the new stuff. So
Yo, I
mean,
just looked up the episode count.
okay,
It's
okay.
1,174 episodes
Whoa.
with 15 movies
Multiple-
and 4 OVA.
Multiply that by like 20, 25 minutes each. That's like 10 years of your life right there that you have to watch this anime to catch up.
Yeah, I wonder how long it would take if you started from zero. Like if you watched, I don't know, like 5 episodes a day. Like how long it would take mathematically. Like to
That
finish.
girl's gonna be waiting a long time unless someone is already a One Piece fan. But this was your anime segment, you guys. What a chat. So Momo, I wanted to talk to you like at the beginning of our chat about like your beginnings of being a writer. Was writing something you were always into as a kid, or was it something that you fell into later?
I think I always enjoyed reading as a small kid too. I mean, my dad named me after a book, Momo, by the German author Michael Ende. So my parents really encouraged reading from a young age, and I think I was really lucky to have teachers who also really fostered my love of reading and also writing as well, I guess, in English class and stuff.
Like, do you remember like what type of stories you would write as a younger fellow? Like we've had people on the show say, "Oh, I've written fan fiction. I've wrote like a novel when I was 5 years old."
Oh wait, no. I was
short stories.
Yeah, no child prodigy here, no Mozart stuff here. Yeah, I don't think I got really into. I think I just wrote blogs and stuff for fun, just for me. But that was a little later when I was. Yeah, that was a lot later in my 20s. I think I had a little blog for fun, but yeah, I didn't get. And I had a creative writing minor in college, but yeah, reading was the main part. I think reading was a gateway. I think for me.
So what gave you the idea that you could write your own novel? Like what brought you from being a reader to like, hey, now I want to be a writer?
In university, I majored in mass communication, and which is a really embarrassing degree to say out loud to people. It's like I learned how to communicate, but minored in creative writing also, and didn't do anything with it after college, job wise. But as I mentioned a little earlier, I did have a blog on the side that I just posted on for fun. Barely had any readers, but it was just a hobby. And then I guess I suddenly had, I don't really remember what the inspiration or the catalyst was. I just wrote a version of the first chapter of Hello Limerence as a standalone short story. And I submitted it to the Writer's Digest short story competition where it got honorable mention. And so I think that's when I had the idea of maybe expanding it into something longer, even though I've never done that before. And yeah, I moved to London a little later that year, in 2021. And so I put the writing stuff on hold for a few months to get a job and survive and stuff. But once that was done, I picked it back up again because I had no friends, and famously, writing is famously a great way to meet new people. But yeah, it was just another hobby for me, I guess. I wrote after work and on the weekends sometimes. And once it was finished, I mean, I didn't really know the first thing about publishing, but I figured there was no harm in trying to submit it to see if, like, it could be a thing. And yeah, that's how I started for me.
That is, I mean, the courage to just be like, oh, like it's just like I should just try writing a book, and like, oh, okay, it got accepted into Writer's Digest, which is a really big publication for those of you guys who don't know, and then just going from let's see where it goes and going for traditional publishing. I don't know, like I feel like a lot of writers who kind of wanted to be a novelist from like an earlier age, there can be all this pressure being like, okay, like these are all the steps I have to do, everything has to be perfect. But I don't know, like it sounds like you kind of were like let destiny take the reins and be like, okay.
I mean, I think I was very lucky. So yeah, it does all feel very surreal, and I feel incredibly lucky to be to have had the journey that I did towards publishing.
Yeah, but to get on that journey, you had to have finished your book. So that in itself is like, I'm still amazed that anyone can write a book. Like I sit down and try to write like an email, and it takes me forever.
So limerence is not really an everyday word we come across, or at least in my world. So how did you decide on the title Hello Limerence?
Yeah, I actually didn't come across the word until I finished writing it. It had a different title for the longest time, and then I decided I didn't like the title, and so it was untitled for a while as well. And I don't actually use the word limerence within the book itself, but I came across the word after I had finished writing it in a news article, I think, and I was like, oh shit, this is what this is exactly what Mika is going through, and it just made perfect sense to have it as a title.
I looked up limerence after picking up your book because I was like, what is this? Even though your book defines it, like in the back. For our listeners, limerence, the state of being obsessively infatuated with someone, usually accompanied by delusions of or a desire for an intense romantic relationship with that person. So that's the definition. And I was like, well, there's a Reddit community for everything, right? So
There is.
there is a Reddit community.
I found
for
it. Yeah, I looked it up
limerence.
too.
And some of the stories on there, I'm like, wow, it's really intense. And your character Mika fits perfectly into it, I have to say. So I thought it was a very fitting title. Funny to hear that like you didn't come up with the title until like much later. I think the article that you mentioned was a New York Times article. It was called "Is It a Crush or Have You Fallen into Limerence?"
Yeah, probably that. Yeah.
Yeah, it came out in 2024, so I'm like, oh,
Right.
yeah, that like fits like the time range.
I mean, I feel
so
like
you said
naming a book is much like naming children. I have I have two kids. I have twins, and we didn't really name them until literally the hour before we were legally required to give them a name. So like,
oh my
sometimes it's
gosh.
easy.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of authors like they either stick with a title from like beginning to end or it just goes through multiple changes and in the end it's just like whatever the marketing team came up with being
Right,
like,
right.
hey.
It's also the placeholder name ends up being the actual title.
That's true. Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
my-
I'm trying to
my-
think of like examples, but none come to mind. But we've definitely interviewed authors where their placeholder title became the title because they're like, I don't know, I'm so used to it now. So I guess this is the title we're gonna keep.
Oh, interesting. Oh, my placeholder one, the one that I scrapped was if and only if, which comes up in the book. It's like a mathematical theorem as well. But I thought it sounded a little bit too sappy. It sounded a bit too dramatic if you didn't know if it was a mathematical theorem. So like I decided to not go with that in the end. And yeah, I think my current title is much better fit. So
It's catchy. It's catchy. So for our listeners who aren't familiar with Hello Limerence, can you give us a brief description of what your book is about?
Hello Limerence follows a 24-year-old virgin named Mika as she navigates falling in love for the first time. She has a shit office job, a somewhat shit best friend, and a shit love life, or rather, no love life. So she has all these really horny and sometimes violent fantasies as a coping mechanism for her frustrations. And yeah, the term limerence, as discussed earlier, means a form of obsessive love. And in the novel, you see Mika grappling with this in her search for the ever elusive one.
Yeah, I thought the episodes of her intrusive thoughts were just so fun because they were very unhinged. And I feel like we've all imagined a perfect comeback long after a conversation has ended, or just
Right.
you know, like you have a really mean boss and you just think about
Yeah.
like hitting them across the face. So like it was very relatable, but I thought it was interesting that your book like frequently cut into like Mika's fantasies in different formats. Like you have like screenplays, you have like court documents sometimes. So like what made you want to include these episodes of like these intrusive thoughts in that format?
I think of the varying types of form as like sort of like a fun house mirror that they reflect different sides of Mika, even though it's still all from her perspective. And so even though it's like a first person POV, the reader is able to see like different parts of Mika that she doesn't necessarily realize about herself through those different parts of form types. And I think the movie scripts is just sort of like how you would imagine like scripting a interaction in person from scratch again and redoing the dialogue because you fucked up so badly. So yeah, who hasn't wanted to officially court order the return of your nudes, you know? So I think it was fun to experiment in that way.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like your book did read like a you know, your the marketing in your book says Asako Yuzuki meets Fleabag, and definitely has that like this is a girl going through it like in the most messy time of her life. And as a fan of shows like Scrubs, where there are like fantasy sequences, like I love that your book had those like insertions of something fantastical, something that is like in her mind, but like so fleshed out.
I mean, I wasn't really conscious of it, but I watched a lot of Disney Channel when I was a kid as well. So maybe like on some level, like That's So Raven was like an influence, maybe, because she also has those like, like visions into the future and stuff like that. But I've heard from readers that some readers that say they do also have these intrusive thoughts. So I feel like it's a pretty common part of the human experience to go in your mind where you probably should not go.
I mean, who hasn't thought about their ex's funeral / death by voodoo doll at one point in their lives, right?
Exactly.
What I thought was like interesting was, okay, so Mika is described as a 24-year-old virgin, right? And she is kind of like obsessed with like, I want to lose my virginity. I feel old and I feel like left behind. And she kind of read to me as someone who is very male centered, which is like ironic because she is a woman or identifies as a woman. And she even seems to view other women through the lens of a man. So she's like commenting on like their bosom sizes and like their level of like hot girlness. So how did you come up with, like, how was your experience coming up with Mika's like internalized male gaze?
Yeah, I'm not going to speak for all women because there's like a lot of us out there, but I think if you're a woman growing up in a sort of male-dominated society, be it Japan or the States or pretty much any country, really, it is very easy to internalize that through like the media that you consume, like, the advertisements and stuff, and turn that gaze upon yourself. Like there was that famous quote by Margaret Atwood that did numbers on Tumblr. Like every Tumblr girl used to reblog it back in the day. But it's from The Robber's Bride by Margaret Atwood, about the man being inside the woman, viewing the woman at all times. And yeah, I think that is something that a lot of young women struggle with in, I guess, policing themselves in terms of, how they dress and how they look and how they must be at all times. So I sort of wanted to depict that very specific time in your life when you care so much about what other people think about you.
Yeah, I mean, Mika, she constantly brings up quote unquote chill girl. Like, I want to be the chill girl.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminds me of like Gone Girl, that really famous monologue where she's like, it's like I was the cool girl. Like I ate like a big hamburger, but I like never gained weight. And like it seems like Mika is hyper aware of like men's expectations to be considered like desirable, but also like not too much of a burden. And I feel like this hyper awareness is not just limited to women these days. I feel like social media in general makes everyone think like, okay, how do I want to be perceived? How do I want to, how do I want people to see me in the dating scene? Was social media something that you had in mind when you were like writing your book, and how like that affects the way people see each other?
Yeah, for sure. Because I think, I'm a millennial myself, so I did start to grow up with social media as it became a thing. But I've known people before they had social media and after, and how they have changed a little bit in being so self-conscious of how they present themselves. And it's just an inescapable part of your social interactions nowadays, like whether it's platonic or romantic. It's seen as a little bit weird even if you don't have social media at all. Like it's assumed that you're like a murderer or like married or something. So it's a part of a digital avatar. Everyone has to have one, basically. And
yeah, I definitely, my millennial senses were definitely tingly when you said that you blogged in your early years, because like blogging is something only millennials have experience in, because like the generation after us, it's all like short form video or tweets and things like that, microblogging, right? But I think it's definitely like, I remember when social media first came out. Like I was born in 84, so I'm like elder millennial, but like social media came out while I was in college, and it was just amazing how fast like we took to it, and immediately we were like, looking up high school friends, we were looking up what they were up to, and like already we figured out cyber stalking like almost immediately, right? And that's just how like human nature is. We want to see what our friends are up to, and also who they're dating, and if they got married, and if they stop talking about the girlfriend, what happened to the girlfriend, right? It's only gotten worse since then, right? Since the mid 2000s. And reading your book, and also we read Asako Yuzuki's Butter a couple months ago, and all the other like books that focused on like not just like the female experience, but also like Asian female experience. And as a dude, it was it's always interesting to read from that perspective, because like I'm like, yeah, dudes do suck. We do a lot of shitty things, and the world is made for us, and like it is hard. And now, as I have a daughter now, and I'm thinking about her growing up in this like very social media like entrenched world with AI encroaching, and all this like TikTok parent social media is all about like literacy now, and like whether or not kids can read anymore. It's just so many things to worry about. And I think that's your book, even though it is about like someone who is more messy, but she is messy because of the world that she lives in, and like we see how it affects her journey. And I think I had a good time reading it, but also like it got me thinking about a lot of things that I need to worry about in the future.
It just gave you existential dread, which is very millennial of you, Marvin. Actually, like I was talking about this with my friend the other day, because we're both millennials and we both talk about existential dread, and somehow like the topic of like club culture came out, and we're just like, like they were saying like, yeah, no one dances at the club anymore unless it's like TikTok sound bites, like choreography.
Yeah,
like they want it to be polished, but like no one does like the freak dances that you've seen at like millennial in the millennial days, because no one was recording us. And I just feel like younger Gen Z and Gen Alpha, because they grew up in this kind of like surveillance performative social media culture, like they're so afraid of being cringe. They're so afraid of secondhand embarrassment. And I just feel like that's just part of your 20s. And I feel like that is what I see in Mika. There's like a palpable level of cringe when it comes to Mika's decision making. And like, I just feel like that is just so quintessential in your 20s. Like, there is like a streak of narcissism and also just secondhand embarrassment. Like, what were your thoughts on the concept of cringe and its role in Mika's, 20s?
Actually, the Writer's Digest recently asked me to write a piece on writing cringe for humorous effect in fiction, and I was like, what, me? What? Like, it was, but yeah, I mean, I guess Hello Lawrence is pretty cringe. I have to admit, after some reflection, but I mean, yeah, being cringe is all a part is a part of the millennial experience. I think I saw someone say that like we are the last generation to grow up ugly. Like we were allowed to be ugly in our teens.
That's so true.
And yeah, I think that builds character, man. That I think it's a shame to be. I mean, I understand why Gen Z are the way that they are, but yeah, your 20s are for being messy and being stupid and making mistakes and being ugly and yeah, figuring all that stuff out, even though it feels so painful at the time, even though it's when you're supposed to be your hottest physically and the youngest that you'll ever be. Yeah, it's a time to be cringe, I think, and it's a shame not to embrace that, I think.
Like the entire time when Mika is like, oh, I need to hear back from Tai, who is definitely a fuckboy, and she knows he's a fuckboy. She knows that he has other options and that he has like a lack of commitment, but that's just your 20s, you know? You're going to be attracted to whoever you're attracted to, and you're going to have like this desperate crave for affection because that's just how it is in your 20s.
Exactly.
I
It's a
think
rite of passage.
it is a rite of passage, and I think you capture the pitfalls of modern dating extremely well. Like, it is just a cesspool of situationships and just spiraling rejections, and it's a very bad environment for someone like Mika, who has a lot of like insecurity, not just on like her body, but also her friendships and her social status and her job. So can you like talk a little bit more about that? Like how like the modern dating scene is like how it impacts Mika's self-worth?
Yeah, I think because with modern dating paired with social media, you're always comparing yourself with your peers, like with other girls who are possibly hotter, who are possibly also interested in the guy that you're interested in. And yeah, you're always comparing yourself, and you also feel replaceable, but you also, because everyone has options, and you're worried about committing because there might be someone better might come along. And yeah, it's a lot of watching yourself, watching other people, and Mika's insecurities were probably already there to begin with, but it definitely compounds them for sure.
Yeah, like there are like moments when Mika talks about like her mom. She's like, my mom would say she was hot shit back in her day, and she had like suitors lined up, and I was like, I don't think your mom would do as well now in modern dating. It is this, the cards are just stacked again. The deck is, you know, everything is rigged, and I was just like having this thought of like yeah, would Mika's mom been hot shit in this day and age? Especially when you have a smartphone and you're like on demand instantly, right? You're like glued to your phone, and you're like, is he gonna text me back? I have to put a timer on, because Mika does this. Mika puts a timer on and be like, I can't be seen as too desperate. I 17 minutes and then I can text me back. And I was like, wow, this is what we've come to. Because back in like Mika's mom's days, it's like you have a landline, you have letters,
and it's expensive to like, you know, talk so much on the phone. So but like people still did it, and like sometimes you would have to wait months to get a letter back. Like, I mean, that was when like way back then, but like, you know, letters, like people wrote letters to each other, maintained long distance relationships for like years. And
I'd argue though back then there were still rules on how quickly you can write back, right, without seeming desperate, right? Or how, like, you know, when we had landlines, like you can't call them right away. You have to wait
that's
at least
true.
a week, and you got to call them on a like at a time where it's like, oh, let's just chat. We're just like, oh, I just happened to think of you, and let's talk. Like, oh no,
or like when they ask you like, are you free this weekend?
Homework, right? Like, hey, what did Mr. So-and-so assign us for this day? By the way, are you free this weekend? Right?
You just have to sprinkle a bit of rejection in there, a bit of like, oh no, I'm not free during this time. But I just think about how embarrassing it would have been to be ghosted back then, because it's not like you go silent on a phone. You have to actively avoid them in person, and just like,
right.
Yeah, you see them in a crowd and they see you, you lock eye contact, and they're just like pretending that they didn't see you. And I'm like, that's worse. I don't know. Just
I mean, but at the same time, it feels like it'd be easier to forget about them if there was some geographical distance, because you could just pretend they were dead, you know? So
that's true. Yeah. Also, the lack of options, like we've mentioned, like you don't have like the internet on your in your fingertips, and you're like, well, my limits are my options are limited to proximity to like this town, to this radius of like 25 miles. Whereas like with online dating, it's like you can have someone who lives in Hawaii and who's here for like a semester, and it's like, okay, you have so many options. And I don't know, there's something very like capitalistic about it. And Yeah, I feel like your book really is a commentary on capitalism and how it like wears down on one's, soul.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. I mean, I think there are definitely unique Japanese flavor shades to capitalism, as in the drinking culture there. It's pretty normal to drink with your colleagues and your clients after work, whereas probably it's not as common over in the States because of the driving. You guys have to drive everywhere. But mild cultural differences aside, capitalism pretty much operates the same everywhere. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Tyler, the fuck boy, he's also he's Japanese American in the book, and he kind of has this like, I don't know, some air about him that attracts Mika to him. Maybe because he's hot, and what made you want to make Tyler an American character in Japan?
I guess it made sense for him to be in her crowd because she's also bilingual, and runs with a international crowd. Outside of work, so that would mean mixed race kids, all Japanese kids who also grew up abroad, like Mika had a similar background, and yeah, a lot of Japanese Americans who come back to the motherland, to experience life there, even if it's only for a year or two. And so it made sense to have him there. And because he's so transient, because there's a time limit on him, I think it makes him even that much more attractive.
Maybe it's because I watch so much Terrace House, but I was just thinking, I was imagining Ty as like one of the surfer dudes in
The Hawaii
on
one?
Terrace House. Yeah, on the Hawaii one. Yeah. Yeah. And also like it is funny because in Terrace House, it really like you could see the difference between, a Japanese American versus a Japanese national. And I was like, that's interesting in terms of like dating. Cause they'll talk about like how, he like held my hand on the first date and that's like a no-go. And I was like, interesting. So like, what are some differences in your opinion when it comes to like Japanese dating versus American dating?
I think Japanese dating is more monogamous, as in, it's kind of weird, but you go on a few dates with someone and then you decide you're boyfriend, girlfriend, like immediately, even if you've not slept together or anything. It's something that you experience together as a couple as you date is kind of the idea. Whereas, outside of Japan, I think it's very normal to date several people at the same time, like, seeing them casually, and, going out for months before maybe you decide you want to lock it down. So I think those are probably the key differences.
Yeah, I think it's the same in Korea. Like I've heard from like cousins that like, we don't do like casual dating here. We don't do hookups. Like it's like boyfriend and girlfriend. It's like very much like labeled from the beginning. And I was like, yeah, but they still like hook up. Just because you call it something different, it doesn't mean that it's not hookup culture. She's your girlfriend for like maybe 2 weeks and then you break up and you have another girlfriend.
I mean, it's basically the same, but you just have a title.
Yeah, you just have a title. Yeah. And it's just like, it just makes you feel a little bit better because you're like, it wasn't like a fling. It was a real relationship. And I think the topic of body count is a little bit more awkward over there because it's like, how many girlfriends have you had? And it's like, I had 20. And you're like, what? It's normal to have like maybe like 20 hookups in like the span of like your 20s, but oh my god, like that many girlfriends, that's crazy. But another thing that I think that Japan and America has like vast differences in is like how misogyny is expressed in the workplace. Like Mika like faces a great deal of like both overt and subtle forms of misogyny. Like you mentioned, like she has to go out for drinks with her company after work. It's mandatory. And a lot of the times, because she is a young woman, she's like put into these gender roles of playing as like entertainer and stuff. And that's not really something that we see here in America. Can you just kind of like expand on like what it's like to live as like a Japanese woman in a work culture like that?
I think Japan ranks as like 118 or something out of 148 countries in the global gender equality index or something like that, which is not great. I think it's the lowest out of the G7 countries. So yeah, I think since Japanese society, it is very based on hierarchy. Like, you know, if you're a junior, there are certain like things that are expected of you. Yeah, whether it's like, you know, holding the elevator door open or taking the notes or pouring the drinks and stuff like that. That's all just very normal behavior, I think. I don't know, I think it goes back to like what I was saying earlier about capitalism too, though. There are shades of like Japanese flavor of sexism and capitalism, but I mean, I don't really believe that it's Japan's an outlier, as in it's exclusive to Japan. I think it's just more obvious on the surface, you know. So yeah, Mika goes through a lot of that stuff in her day-to-day job.
Yeah, I feel like misogyny is not a solved problem in the States neither. We just like there are ways to hide it or do it more like subtly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I wanted to go back to, I guess you mentioned that Hello Limerence came from the first chapter she wrote for the digest, and I'm curious, like where did the character come from? Like what made you like, how did Mika like appear in your head and say, okay, I want to tell this girl's story. Like I want to follow her messy life through her this very messy year and kind of go through, because her story isn't finished by the end of the book. She's entered a new chapter, but still like, you know, like this is a year of really questionable decisions, but also very human, very like very, very normal for someone her age. Like how did the character come to you?
I think I've always had like a love for comedies and rom-coms. So that was probably my inspiration. But yeah, because like having a crush is one of the best feelings in the world, I think. So I just sort of wanted to distill that in a book. But I mean, it's not autofiction, but I have professional working experience in Japan for 6 years after university. So, you know, there were some inspiration that I could mine from in the book.
What was the scene in the short story that you submitted to Writer's Digest? Because this is a book, and I can imagine any of the chapters being what you submitted.
Oh, yeah. It was the first chapter where Mika has in the office, where she has this elaborate revenge fantasy against her boss.
Kind of reminded me a little bit of Agretsuko, the Sanrio cartoon. The red panda that like sings like metal karaoke went after work because she's just like, corporate life and misogyny. I hate this. And I'm like, wow, an icon. So one of the parts I really liked about your book is how you wrote what it feels like to be a back burner friend, like the one who gets the pity invites, the one who is never prioritized. And even if listeners, if you were the popular one out there, you probably have experienced being not prioritized by somebody. And the center of that friendship is Nana and Mika, who are high school friends who were very close, but then they drifted apart because Nana got hot pretty much. She gained social capital. I think that's a better way to say it, more eloquent way of saying it. What were some things you wanted to explore with that friendship dynamic between Nana and Mika?
Yeah, I think friendships like theirs, it's a very common dynamic in your teens and, 20s, maybe even, between women, I guess, where you do genuinely have love for them. Like there is genuine affection there. But at the same time, it's a swirling mass of other things like resentment and like, you're not supposed to show it, but it comes out anyways. And you sense it without having a conversation about it. And it twists your friendship even more. And Nana is not the villain per se. Like she does do shitty things sometimes, but also Mika projects a lot of her insecurity onto her, and that's not Nana's fault, right? Her self-esteem issues, it's not all her fault. So yeah, I wanted to sort of depict that complicated tug of war that you have between female friendships at a certain age, and how that, bittersweetness of sometimes growing apart from your friends in your 20s.
I think in our 20s, we're still learning how to be good people or just full-fledged human beings. So to add like another human being that you have to like get along with,
right?
oftentimes it's not going to work out. So like the second half of your book, or like the last third of your book, it takes place during a pandemic, but it's not COVID. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about this imaginary pandemic that alternative pandemic you came up with?
Go. Yes, uncontrollable bowel syndrome, UBS for short, which is very highly infectious, and it can be transmitted through like flatulence, and it causes people to verbally shit themselves, as in, say things they wouldn't have otherwise, and also physically shit themselves to death. And that is a
terrible way to die.
Yes, it is a horrible way to die, and strangely, oddly relevant because of the lettuce stuff that's been going on in the U.S. So,
I have not had a salad. Actually, that's not true, because I was in Pennsylvania semi recently, and I was in the boonies. So we got our lettuce from an Amish farm. So it was not a corporate farm. So I was safe. And that was the only time I could eat lettuce. And it's scary. But I do love how this virus came from America in your book. And it's like the white people who are being hate crimed. And it was just so funny to me because, I mean, I have to laugh because of all the hate crimes that Asian people faced here in America during the beginning of the pandemic. So, like, what are your thoughts on like how the lockdown changed how we set boundaries in relationships, especially like romantic relationships? Because you have that physical boundary of like, oh, we can't be like within 6 feet of each other, but like you still have that, we're human, we still have loneliness, and but of course there are some people out there who are human vampires and just like love to leech off of you. So like just like your thoughts on how lockdown changed romantic relationships in general.
I think it was like a litmus test, right? Since you could sort of tell people's values based on that. Like, are you pro-science? Are you anti-science? Or like, it forced you to cut down on really evaluate your relationship. So like, because people had bubbles, right? You were either in the bubble or you weren't, and you weren't maybe as close as to that friend as you thought you were. And also, I think it made or broke a lot of relationships. I think a lot of people got married or divorced during the pandemic. Married obviously because you're so lonely, like you think it's the end of the world, and like, this is the one and we got to do it now. Or broke it because, like, even if it was long distance, or I mean, if it was in person, like you are seeing these things that you never realized before, because even though due to the sheer amount of time that you're spending together. Or it broke them just because of distance and the geographical barriers, because borders were closed, and a bunch of other things. So Mika also has this as a barrier to the potential of her life within the book.
Yeah, there's definitely some growth after UBS strikes Japan. It is very. I don't want to spoil anything to our readers, but towards the end of the book, there is a moment where Mika realizes how all the women in the dating app have their life together, or like they you know, they have some kind of stability in their life while the men don't. She kind of realizes that the men are losers. So I'm jokingly asking this to you. Are men the problem? But seriously, like, what are your thoughts on like this gap of standards in just online dating?
I am still trying to figure that out, but I think it's just women are just held to like such high standards, like, you know, you have to look this way, you have to be this way, like at all times, and you're you know, you're surveilling yourself and you're making sure that you meet those standards. So like women are hot and pretty like a lot of the time, and funny and smart and all those things. And I'm not gonna say like all men, you know, not hashtag not all men, but like, yeah, the good ones are taken because like women that are single are by choice. They're single by choice, and men that are single, they're usually single for a reason. So it's.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like in general people are the problem, but most of the time I can see how
Mostly men.
are the
Are you
problem.
kidding me? I think it really has to do with like in this day and age where women do have financial and marital independence, it's like, come on, men, you need to step it up. Like you're like you are complaining about paying for dinner at like this cheap restaurant, whereas like I spend like how much money when it comes to eating with my girlfriends. It's like my girlfriends are like the standard and you guys are not even doing the bare minimum. So
Right.
I mean that's my theory, but
Yeah.
I've been happily married for a while now. So
Congratulations.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the cool thing about books like yours, which for me, is to read stories of women who are just as messy, but also have to deal with a lot of bullshit. So like, I feel like they've earned the right to be a little messy and be a little selfish too, you know?
some of these men are worse. They're messier. So I'm like, really? Like your life is not as bad as some of these other people that you are interacting with on a daily basis.
Yeah. So on your acknowledgments, you mentioned you thank a lot of people, and you also request that they don't read your book. So have anyone actually read your book? Like, have your parents read your book, or are they interested in it at all?
Oh no, my parents are so happy for me. Like, they, I feel like they wouldn't be if they actually had read the book. So, yeah, they have Instagram accounts. They weren't very active, but like they like all of my stuff now, and they send me like fire emojis and like heart eye emojis. Like they text me like a fuckboy. But it's all been it's all been very nice. I really do appreciate. But I live in constant fear. It's my number one actually fear, worry that my parents are going to read my book, and I'm like in my 30s. So, but yeah, people I know in real life reading it is a real, it's scary.
I do want to mention, like, the book came out in the UK first, and and the book for the American edition comes out this month, and they have different covers, like most books with UK and US editions, and they're very different. Can you like
they are
kind of like describe the two covers and like your initial reactions to them, because they're very different.
Yeah, they are. I didn't have any input on the UK one. It just came out suddenly, and I think it features a nail, like a design of a nail, just because I think, you know, Mika mentions having her nails done and the focus on femininity and like how she presents herself and stuff. But yeah, it's a very trippy cover. I really like it. But yeah, the US one, it's by Man Shen Lo, a really amazing illustrator, and I think she based it on a photograph that she'd seen before of an actual woman like sitting on the what do you call it, the baggage the
like
rail,
the shelf that's like above people's heads
on the train. So she based it on an actual photo she'd seen. I haven't seen that photo before, but I think they wanted to emphasize the Japan angle more with that one. But yeah, it's been really cool seeing how completely different they are.
Yeah, because like the American version, it's very like black and white, and you know, it's like, yeah, this is Japan. Whereas like the UK version, I'm like, wow, this is like a Gen Z nail art for like Coachella.
Right.
I don't know. It's like very different, and it's, I don't know, like they capture different vibes of Mika. I think like there's the corporate Mika who's like, I cannot believe I'm living this corporate shell of a life, and then, you know, it's like I'm still a child. There's like still kind of like some whimsy to it with her dating scenes. I think the covers did a really good job capturing the different essences of your book and your character.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I really love the covers as well.
All right, so Hello Limerence is now out in the States. Always feel bad asking this, but you know, we really enjoyed this first book. And is there anything else in the works? Are you working on anything else right now that you can talk to us about?
I have ideas, but I haven't started writing anything yet. So hopefully, in the not so distant future, I'll start writing again.
Yeah.
Well, it's a well-deserved break for you. I think you should be really proud of yourself for this novel.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for joining us at Books and Boba and talking to us about your debut.
Thanks so much. It's been an honor.
And that was our chat with Momo Yamaguchi. Her debut novel, Hello Limerence, is available now at bookstores everywhere, including, as always, the Books and Boba online bookstore. So if you enjoyed our conversation with Momo and want to pick up her book, head on over to booksandboba.com. Check out our bookshop link, where all purchases support not only us here at Books and Boba, but also your local bookstores as well. So as always, thanks to everyone who has purchased a book from us so far. And appreciate your support. But before we call it an episode, Riri, can you remind us what book we are reading this month for book club?
Yeah, so for August, we are reading Clara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro. And this is a dystopian science fiction story about an android who is chosen as a companion for a sickly child. And the movie adaptation is coming out this year as well. I think it's coming out in October, actually. So it will be perfect timing for our discussion.
Yeah, so if you've been reading along with us on Discord, we have finished our read-along. So all aspects of the book is up for discussion now. So if you have any thoughts or feedback about the book that you want to potentially have on our discussion podcast, head on over to Discord now and let us know your thoughts. I will say I should have known better because it's a book about an artificial friend, a sickly child, but I did not realize how much this book was going to be about parenting and the future of parenting. And I will say I feel very attacked. I was very attacked.
You probably have a lot of thoughts.
I felt attacked when we read Never Let Me Go. I felt personally attacked by this book. So we'll definitely have a lot of interesting things to talk about at the end in our discussion episode next week. But with that'll do it for this episode of Books and Boba. Thank you once again to Momo Yamaguchi for joining us, and we'll see you all next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Books and Boba. This podcast was hosted by Marvin Yue and Riri Yu and edited and produced by Marvin Yue. Follow the book club on Twitter and Instagram by going to @BooksandBoba and engage with us on Goodreads on our Goodreads group. You can also check out past episodes of the podcast by going to booksandboba.com and by subscribing to us on your favorite podcast app. Don't forget, you can support Books and Boba and Asian American authors by purchasing books at our bookshop.org account. Check out the link in our show notes and also at booksandboba.com. Books and Boba is a proud member of the Potluck Podcast Collective, a collective of Asian American hosted podcasts featuring unique voices and stories from the Asian diaspora. Learn more about the collective and check out our fellow Potluck shows by visiting the website podcastpotluck.com. Thanks for listening.
Hey, I'm Phil Yu, and you may know me from a blog called Angry Asian Man.
And I'm Jeff Yang, author, journalist, and celebrity dad.
We host a podcast called They Call Us Bruce, an unfiltered conversation about what's happening in Asian America.
Each week or so, we host a discussion about some of the most vital and interesting topics in our pop culture and our community, bringing in guests who are shaping and informing this thing called Asian America from Hollywood to DC and beyond.
We got media, entertainment, food, family, politics, representation,
the good, the bad, the WTF of it all.
So check us out wherever you get your podcasts or at theycallusbruce.com.
Peace.
Peace.
Hey, I'm Kim Cooper, and I co-host the podcast Asians in Baseball alongside Naomi Ko and Scott Okamoto. Asians in Baseball is exactly what it sounds like. A podcast about the Asian and Asian Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Americans in Major League Baseball. Every week, we break down the highlights of what's going on with Asians in baseball and then take a deeper dive into the Asian and Asian Americans past and present who have shaped baseball as it is today. Whether you're Kim Eng's #1 fan or you've never even heard of Hideo Nomo, we've got something for everyone, especially for the Shohei Ohtani stans. Maybe too much for the Shohei Ohtani stans. Listen to Asians in Baseball wherever you get podcasts, part of the Potluck Podcast Collective.